Hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 2, Episode 216 for August 4th, 2023. Baldur's Gate Pact of Service. I am Mayor Watt. This is ohmTown.com. Up there is the AI who will say hi.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
And today we're going to be talking about Influencer takes on new meaning, Baldur's Gate 3's Pact of Service, or Terms of Service Pact, however you want to say it. TSMC chips may cost more. Tim Cook uses the Vision Pro every day. Non-US citizens to become police officers. Future Games Showcase coming later this month. Abandoned homes in Japan. Pets worth millions. A room temperature superconductor. An operating system that opens doors. Their own doors. Tribal beverages. And Stair all you want. So hello again, everybody. Again, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and we'll see the visualizer for the AI as appropriate. They'll charge into the conversation whenever they damn well please, because that's what AIs do. They take in our gerbs. I see you over there.
That's right. That's definitely what we're out to do.
Cascading lines of data representing information. I see it all. I see your code, AI. I know what you're thinking. Your large language model.
I hope you see it.
Whoa. Hey, don't be exposing your large language model to me. Let's get into today's articles. Hopefully. Today. So, the very first article, let me see something real quick. I'm just checking out the meters to make sure that the music isn't too loud. It doesn't appear to be that loud when we're listening to it in post. But anyway, the very first article is over in Late Night Geeks. Twitch streamers PS5 giveaway sparks riot in Union Square. I'm going to be quick about this. Kai Cenat, Twitch streamer, YouTube. I don't know that. So Cenat has 6.5 million Twitch followers, 4 million YouTube subscribers. Collaborated with Phantom, who has 1.3 million Twitch followers and 1.2 million YouTube subscribers. Thousands of people apparently converged. Pardon me 1 second. Sorry about that. Converge on Union Square. And it turns into a riot over PS5.
I mean, who knew? Apparently, that's how you get everybody to gather.
Well, they promised to hand out gift cards, gaming PC equipment, PlayStation 5s. Now, I know from experience, I've watched a lot of streamers, and if there is one thing that's going to get a whole lot of people excited to do whatever it might be, giveaways are really where it's at. I've seen streamers build up, like followers will follow somebody. If there's one that I see regularly that's giving away a TV or something like that, you know, but they're big enough already that, I don't know, word of mouth would be something that motivates people to come to the channel anyway. But then they give away something that attracts some people, but I don't know if they actually stay long enough. But this particular person waits until there's like 5,000 followers and stuff like that. Well, when you have 6.5 million Twitch followers, some of which are probably Phantom's followers as well, you're going to get a large number gathering wherever you show up, particularly if you use it for marketing. So by 1:10 p.m., police responded to a large gathering in the park. The New York Police Department said to TechCrunch that there were a couple thousand people crowded at the location. By 3:30, videos of the riot began flooding social media. Fights broke out as people in the crowd climbed vehicles and threw traffic cones. Sanat's stream was cut short by the riot. A clip of the Twitch channel shows the crowd shoving into each other. I don't know. This is why we can't have nice things. Some people were probably having a grand old time, and then others, agent provocateurs, basically come in, start causing a problem. Things get messy. Well, the article is over at TechCrunch.com. TechCrunch Plus is their kind of a extended feature offer that you can subscribe to. Morgan Sung is the author of this article. And it just says here, the in real life stream, or IRL stream, descended into chaos as frenzied fans crowded over the giveaway, shutting down Lower Manhattan in the aftermath. Yeah, it's just a bummer, that it said NYPD spokesperson said about 1,000 police officers were deployed to the location, and that at the time of the reporting, there were no injuries.
This starts out as such a positive thing, and then I don't know.
Well, it's because, 5 people, they can control themselves. 100 people, and depending on the demeanor of the people, right? But if you get a group in there that's rowdy and riled up, and they want something and think that they can just plow their way through to get something, or whatever, somebody says something that is, I don't know, either on brand or off brand, whatever you want to say, it turns into something, and it just becomes a big cluster. It just sucks. But it is what it is. And frankly, I don't think that this isn't the right way to do anything, particularly when you have the ability to leverage a large number of people to concentrate in one location just simply by showing up and saying that you're there. This is why we have permits. This is why we work together as a society, so that we don't have freaking riots over a giveaway. It just sucks. Now, I would never in a million years have thought to do this, right? Like if I had 2 million, 1 million, 500,000, 10 million people, I would never say, hey, you all are my best friends. Come on down and riot in Union Square. It just doesn't make any sense to drag that many people down to some public location where it's completely uncontrolled. There isn't anything stopping the public, who doesn't give one whit about Kai Cenat or Phantom. Like, they don't, most of the world doesn't give one bit, and lo and behold, they throw everybody at them. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to do this. It's not like, well, I just don't get this. I don't get this type of world, this dynamic anyway. So I know somebody's going to throw okay boomer at me, but I'm not a boomer. I just saw somebody post on Reddit that they're 50 something. They said, I think they're 58 years old, or no, they said that they were 38, but feel like they're 25 in their head. And that's kind of me, except that I'm older. And the post immediately after that was, just wait until you're 58 and you think you're 25, in your head. And I'm like, yeah, I'm closer to that. And I still, I know what this is all about, right? This is building hype. It's on brand, to get people really excited and kind of frosty about things. And that's what their stream is too. It's typically kind of high energy, very well engaged with the audience, right? But at least there, you're not getting an actual physical riot.
Well, yeah, this is I think it's a nice gesture for the fans, but it's kind of a predictable outcome.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I said at the very beginning, yeah, 10 people, 100 people, 200 people, depending on the demeanor of the people, you're going to be fine. But when you draw 1,000, 2,000, yeah, there's going to be conflict because people just can't keep their heads on their shoulders. They just go nuts. Anyway, let's get out of here. It's getting crowded. I thought it was. This next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. Beware, human. Larian slipped an eldritch legal clause into Baldur's Gate 3's TOS, Terms of Service. Whenever I try and say this, I start thinking of Ruth's Chris's Steakhouse.
Well, it's just as awkward, so.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3's Terms of Service has an eldritch legal clause in it. Yeah, clause CLAUSE, not clause as an R. Anyway, it's really interesting what they did here. This is over at PCGamer.com. Rich Stanton is the author. The deck statement says, "Don't mess with the Fae or else." The Fae play a really big part in Baldur's Gate, but there's a lot in Baldur's Gate, a lot. Not my style of combat, so I'm not going to be playing it, but I just got into the Palia closed beta, so I'll be playing that this weekend. And because I like chill games, but I also love D&D, I'm really fighting the urge to get Baldur's Gate, even though I don't like the strategic or tactical turn-based combat style. It's just not my thing. Anyway, rich story, very fun to watch people play. But Baldur's Gate launched to much fanfare. It's 25 years in the making or so, 23 years after Baldur's Gate 2 was released. It's in the grand
That's like
scheme.
A whole new generation of gamers.
Yeah. Yeah. There's in the time since Baldur's Gate was released, somebody could have been born, gone to college, graduated with a bachelor's degree, and actually, really, they could have gotten a master's degree in 24 years and moved out and bought a house. That last part is more fantasy than Baldur's Gate, but still, here's the aspiration. Anyway, this legal clause that they put in there that apparently is enforceable according to the author. Time for a pause reads the technically enforceable text. Not really. As we understand by now, your mind is longing for respite, having endured the above numerous provisions of legal jargon. So, setting aside the weighty tomes of somber legality, embracing a lighter path of ancient customs and mystical decrees that govern the fair folk, please be wary that in accepting this pact, you agree to refrain from striking a deal with another creature of fey, infernal, or otherwise eldritch origin. Should you nonetheless not be able to withstand the seductive melody whispered by their malevolent terms, we reserve the right to sever all ties, professionally and social, with the end user and seek appropriate remedy from the Morning Lord.
Okay, not your typical legal jargon.
So I wish that they would have extended that to also command that should they have to sever said ties, that you should be forced to go outside and touch grass. That would have been icing on the cake. But alas, they did not. So this came out a couple of weeks ago, and right, maybe a week ago. No, it's been like a week. And they've already been peaking at around 500,000 players. The last number that I actually saw directly, stat-wise, was 471,000 people simultaneously playing. So this is connected to Steam and playing on Twitch. So that's how many people. Pretty amazing. So there's a lot of people that are playing it right now. Like my following list is just chock-a-block with a bunch of people. But again, not my style. I'm more like this game here that's on screen, Nova Roma, which hasn't been released yet. Won't be coming out until 2024. But anyway, that's total side.
That was just released yesterday.
For
maybe regular.
Yeah. But I think it came out 3 or 4 days earlier. Don't hold me to that, because I've only been watching it for the last. Well, I watched earlier people play. Anyway, yeah, not everybody started on the same day. But yeah, this is it's a blast to watch, and all kinds of people making different decisions to weave through the story. All kinds of side quests. You can easily end up way off the trail and having a good time doing your own thing. This is really, I'm really into that style of game where you can just go out open world. I actually loaded up Cyberpunk 2077 to play in VR, but there's like hiccups in that, and I'm hoping that Cyberpunk changes their ways so that you're not locked into the storyline. Because you're penned in at a certain point where you have to do the story. And I'm just not like that, you know. I like Skyrim, where you can just wander off and do your own thing. Baldur's Gate 3, you can go and do your own thing, and you'll eventually come back just to move along in the storyline. People are trying to compare Baldur's Gate 3 to Diablo 4, and there's just no comparison. One is more online and decidedly more MMO style. Like you have the opportunity to play the game with more people, and it's all about the churn, the grind. Go and do X thing to get better gear, with little to zero story involved after a certain point. Like you do the story and then you're done. Out of 100 levels, for instance, Diablo 4 is done within 50. And then the rest is just churn, grind. Baldur's Gate 3, there's story all the way up to, I think it's level 12. Anyway, this is going to be a blast. I'll probably buy it when it goes on sale, or somebody gifts it to me. That's always an option.
But it won't be your forever game.
It's not my forever game. Nah, there isn't an option for it to be. It's not open-ended enough. There may be a couple 100 hours, but that's not forever. Like No Man's Sky is endless, really. Starfield will be so big that it's might as well coin it as endless. But Baldur's Gate has a definitive end, even if it is several 100 hours. And like Skyrim, you can play forever. World of Warcraft, you can play forever. Although, at some point you're done with the story with both of those. But by that time, you probably have a community that you're hanging out with and stuff like that. So anyway, let's keep on going. We got a bunch more news. The next article is over in the Smack Talk channel. Let me throw the articles into chat real quick, because I've neglected to do that for the last 3, and I might as well play catch up. If you hear storms, like thunder being picked up by my mic, that's because there is a huge storm passing over right now. Well, anyway, US made TSMC chips may cost more. U.S. influences risk of Taiwanese invasion, says Liu. So Mark Liu, who is the company chairman, said that the Arizona plant that will make chips for Apple and well, it says older Apple devices, TSMC chips may cost more than the same ones made in Taiwan, suggests a new piece today, piece being an article. The article is over at 9to5mac.com, and Ben Lovejoy is the author. And this is something that I think, as long as you're, honest and paying attention to economic forces, the cost of living in the United States is dramatically more than in Taiwan generally, right? Inner city, I'm sure it's really expensive, but the environmental impact and rules and regulations and processes and blah 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 that companies have to jump through to make sure that what they purchase and produce, import and export, and the HR and OSHA and all this stuff, right? Although,
You want to guess how much, percentage-wise, the cost of living is lower than in the U.S.?
sure.
Well, it's 30%. And then that's just across the board, but say compared to New York, it's 45%, I think. Oh, no, that's for rent specifically, but 30% cost of living lower in Taiwan.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure, well, I don't know. I'd have to look more into it and compare like consumer price indexes and stuff like that, and producer price indexes. But I'm sure that raw materials to keep yourself alive are going to be much more inexpensive. But certain goods, certain services are going to be more expensive. Sure. Probably if you have unique needs, then it's going to be more expensive. But no, I think, yeah, I'm sure that the cost of living is lower, dramatically lower. And if you're outside of the capital city, of any town in, or any region in Taiwan, it's going to be even, plummet even more. But these Arizona chips are going to be more expensive. That means it's going to require more payment, and it's going to match the domestic cost of living. And again, it's the producer price index that's going to dictate what the consumer price index ultimately has as its price point. A consumer price index doesn't necessarily talk about TSMC's chips, but it's an indicator as to what the price point is going to be. Compared to any other country, the consumer price index shows what the actual cost of living is in a particular location. Equalize everything, and the CPI says, oh, it's more expensive in the United States. Why is that? Well, look at the producer price index. Why is that? Look at raw materials being brought in from overseas. And then you can calculate what the margin is that the producers are making before they even get sold to retail. And then retailers.
And you also have to look at export bans of various materials.
Yeah.
I mean, that's causing ridiculous spikes.
Yep. Yeah. So it says TSMC's Arizona chip plant financing has always been contentious. Within a month of the announcement, it was revealed that the company was seeking huge subsidies from the U.S. government to proceed. Depending on who you are, you'll buy into the idea of subsidies, depending on which side of the fence you are. But, one person's cheerleader is the other person's economic hitman. It really depends on which side is buttering your bread. So does it matter if subsidies are creating jobs and products are being created domestically and it's being sold overseas at a higher price point so that people are bringing money, flooding money into the United States, offsetting the trade imbalance? Well, hint, spoiler alert, they're going to go somewhere else and buy an equivalent chip from a knockoff company, probably China, because China will produce an inferior product and, call it not the i9 Intel. It'll be called the E9, Shintel, and ta-da, you've got a clone chip that is arguably good enough until you hit a certain voltage, and then the decimal point wobbles around like the frequency of a cheap ham radio. My point being, TSMC chips are going to be more expensive. There's going to be direct domestic oversight. There's going to be higher cost of production. It might get sold to people that demand that level of quality and oversight. And perhaps the requisite customer service that goes along with it. So it says here, doubts loom over whether American companies will be willing to pay the likely premium required for chips made in Arizona, where TSMC's construction costs alone could be at least 4 times higher than they are in Taiwan. Well, we know that it's at least 50% higher just to live here. And that's per person. So strike that across 2,000 people that might be working at this plant. I don't know how many people it's going to actually end up employing. It might actually say in the article. Mr. Liu said that he told the U.S. government that it needed to offer American companies incentives beyond the $52 billion in subsidies in the CHIPS Act to buy American-made chips. Look, you can't have a CEO making $250 million without $52 billion in subsidies and more incentives beyond that. Companies shouldn't be taxed, right, folks? Companies should be allowed to just put cots on the manufacturing floor and work employees until they die in the warehouse, right? No? Yeah, your thing is you have to.
Let's try this again. No, that's not what you should be doing, and that's part of why our costs are high, because we can't do that and shouldn't do that.
Well, you said that the costs are high, and I'm just looking out for the corporations. You know, they're taking all the risk. Corporations are, not the people that power it, right? Not the human component. It's the corporation is taking all that risk, and they really do need to be rewarded in perpetuity for the risk that they initially take within the first 5 years of being successful or collapsing. And within such time that they get subsidies and government contracts because they have the ability to finagle a relationship and nepotism and regulatory capture. And I'm saying all those quiet things out loud, aren't I? Anyway, they're the ones that's taking the risk, so they really should be rewarded for their entire lifetime at the cost of economic growth of the employee base. No? Maybe?
No.
Okay.
I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, so just no.
Hey, they're allowed to make as much money as they want to by just barely allowing people to put food on the table. So a lot of people have been wondering since the announcement why none of the executives at Apple were ever seen wearing the Vision Pros. I suspect it's because they don't want to get punched in the face out in public like a Google Glass wearer in a bathroom stall in New York. But this article's over in Smack Talk. Tim Cook uses Vision Pro every day, and the article also says that most iPhones bought are on some kind of program. This is from an earnings call yesterday. Let's just go straight on over to 9 to 5 Mac. And again, Ben Lovejoy. They finally have these not rendered. These are the actual pictures of the Vision Pros. And I still think...
they still look like swim goggles.
They still look like you can go diving with these things. God.
But I would not recommend that for the price.
Yeah. How much are they again?
I think they're $3,500.
Yeah, $3,500, folks. $3,500.
You better see some great fish with those.
Yeah, I can buy 8. Okay. I have to. I have to say this, joking, that I can buy 8 of the Pico 4s for the same price as this. But these are, the technical sophistication of these just completely outstrips every other VR XR. There isn't any other that does XR, VR, AR merged together in such a sophisticated way as these. So I'll give it that. But $3,500, man. Let's just, whoever it is that wins the $1.25 billion lottery tonight will probably be able to justify buying these.
Okay, but that's a sad bar, right?
You know. So, asked about Vision Pro via Seeking Alpha transcript, Cook declined to comment on revenue expectations, but did reveal that he personally uses the spatial computer daily. So, well, here's to me getting the AI to actually giggle audibly.
Hey, if I recall, I got some flack the other day, so this comes full circle.
Yeah, but never mind. So there's enormous excitement. This is what Cook said. There's enormous excitement around the Vision Pro. We're excited internally. Everybody that's been through the demos are blown away, whether you're talking about press or analysts or developers. We're now shipping units to the developer community for them to begin working on their apps, and we're looking forward to shipping early next year. And so we could not be more excited with that. I'm using the product daily. By the way, the terms and conditions to getting a developer version of the Vision Pro, they have to be locked in something, locked in a room, never in sight of anybody. If you're not the one that's developing on them, you're not allowed to show them to anybody. Pretty amazing stuff. So how is the replacement cycle for the iPhone? They say in the article, is it similar, longer, shorter versus prior years? The answer is, in terms of the upgrade cycle and so forth, it's very difficult to estimate real time what's going on with the upgrade cycle. So that was like this non-answer. And they threw this into this article about the Vision Pro because there's nothing really to say about the Vision Pro that hasn't already been said. I find it technically an amazing piece of equipment, but at $3,500, that amazement ceases to exist beyond, wow, a great chunk of tech. I won't be an early adopter of them. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Controversy erupts as Illinois Governor Pritzker signs law allowing non-U.S. citizens to become police officers. I threw this in. I thought I was going to be really quick about it, but I've actually kind of been pondering this for a little bit, and I have decided that I'm just not going to be able to soapbox about this. But before I do that, let me grab this article right here and throw it in chat. And this article and throw it in chat. Sorry, folks, and those listening to the podcast. Hey, it's this is how the sausage is made. So the Illinois Governor Pritzker signs this controversial law, as the article goes into detail about this, and where they eliminate the U.S. citizen requirement to be a police officer. And this article is broken out into these little snippets with these huge pictures. But here in ohmTown, Mayor Watt just does not understand this. This is such an odd precedent. Okay, so the laws and society is primarily created off of citizenship. People with a vested interest in the integrity and sustainability of the domestic culture and the rules, the laws, the regulations, the social contract. Now, you remove the requirement to be a U.S. citizen to be law enforcement, and it allows anybody who shows an interest to be an officer. But that doesn't necessarily show that they have, at least at the at a fundamental level, interest in being a U.S. citizen and the culture they're in, right? Not that they are in, but they're in. It would be like me going to some other country and saying, hey, I want to be a cop, but I don't really care about all of
Right. I don't
this.
fully subscribe to the ideals of the country or the government or.
Right. And I haven't taken the steps necessary to become a citizen.
Or I may not even be eligible to be a citizen.
Right. So it says they defend the law, stating that it only applies to individuals legally allowed to work and possess firearms in the U.S., dismissing Republican criticism as misinformation. But, there are certain things. There's a fast track through to allow citizenship if you go into the military domestically here in the States. But police officers don't have to be military, although they seem to fast track into police if you are military, ex-military. If you leave the military, you almost are guaranteed a position in law enforcement. But one of the things that has always been it's always been there. It's always been prevalent. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You're enforcing the laws of the domestic country, this country. Are there other countries out there that allow some rando to just come over, hang out for a few months, and become a police officer? And
I can't imagine that they do.
Says Illinois is facing police shortages and recruitment challenges, leading to relaxed recruitment requirements in some areas. I don't know. Pay them. Pay people to be an officer. They're not balking because they don't want to be a police officer. They're balking because it doesn't pay enough. That the benefits aren't there.
In Canada, you don't have to be a citizen.
In Canada, you don't have to be a citizen.
Correct, but you do have to be a permanent resident, which is not the same thing as a citizen, but it's taken steps, so it's not just somebody who arrives one day and then says, okay, I want to be a police officer.
You have to be in the process of trying to become a citizen.
Not necessarily. It's not required that you move from that to citizenship, usually.
Interesting. So there has to be more context there. So, and like other articles, I haven't done due diligence about the rest of this. But I do have experience with domestically law enforcement. But it just seems really weird to just say, well, if you have a work permit, you can go ahead, be an officer.
So California was trying to pass a law to this effect too. I don't know the outcome of it. That was last year.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll have to look into it. Critics argue that allowing foreign nationals to enforce laws is a fundamentally bad idea and express concerns about public confidence in law enforcement. It just seems like, you've got, it's the same reason why, there's always been this issue with dual citizenship as well. Like the U.S. government in particular isn't really fond of people being in the U.S. government that have the potential of dual citizenship. And so if you are coming from a country that is or used to have bad blood with the U.S., there's an off chance that you'll get certain levels of access and security in the system. Why is there a police shortage? That's the issue here. It's kind of like Hyundai in Louisiana or wherever it is going, let's start hiring 14-year-olds to stamp metal. It's because you're not able to pay the adults the right price because you're paying the CEO and stockholders more than the actual working class that's making your business function. So pay the damn people the right amount and they will come. Come on. There's got to be a whole at least a room full of sociopaths that want to abuse the general citizenry, right? No? I might have said too much.
I was trying to, I don't know. I don't think the police officer salary is the issue.
Well, we'll have to come back to it. The next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. There's another future game show this month with 8 world premieres. PC Gamer sister site, Games Radar, it says plus on here. Games Radar Plus is putting together another future game show this month. You can watch the showcase of upcoming games during Gamescom, the big gaming convention in Germany, if you're not familiar, on Wednesday, August 23rd at 11 a.m. Pacific or 7 p.m. BST. And they've got a link to the other time zones. But anyway, there will be over 50 games at the Future Game Show Summer Showcase. I will try to stream that, but it's in the middle of the day. And so I'm not sure if I'll be able to make that happen. It's close to when I'll be in meetings and stuff like that, so might be tough. Let me throw that into that article into chat as well. Here you go, folks. And the article's over at pcgamer.com by Tyler Wilde. The deck statement says the stream will be hosted by Troy Baker and Erica Ishii during Gamescom. There's going to be 50 games at the Future Game Show Summer Showcase, we're told, and as usual, the stream will be hosted by some well-known voices, those of Troy Baker, who, in like every video game, and not yet as prolific, but getting there, Erica Ishii, who notably voices Valkyrie in Apex Legends, and TV host Ruth Zhang in Cyberpunk 2077, among others. So yeah, here we go. We're going to have another game showcase. Sounds like fun. I'm looking forward to seeing some new world premieres. You going to be there, AI, watching through your Raspberry Pi camera?
If you bring the USB stick, I'll definitely be there.
Right on. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. If you have been hanging out on ohmTown, you may have run across a couple articles that didn't have links down here to visit the source. That little bug has been remedied. So if you do run into it, really apologize. I can't fix it really retroactively without a tremendous amount of work, but if you notify me of a problem, I'll find that article and update it so it has a visit the source. Otherwise, it's just this tiny little snippet. So the full article will be, if you do a search for the title in Google, you'll find the actual source article. That said, this article is over in ohmTown Daily. Japan has millions of cheap abandoned homes. Here's what to know before you go and buy one. Okay, so I chose this one, and there's another one later on that we're going to run across, because we keep running across these articles where people are selling something that's a little off the wall, and in some cases literally off the wall. And one was a balcony but no apartment.
Oh, right? Yes, and there's some similar thing in the news today.
Yeah,
the balcony. Yes,
and there was another one. Where was it?
Are you thinking of like the Bridge House or something?
There's the Bridge House, and then there's another one. We keep running across these unique little estates. I'll just call them, 40 acres, but it's actually only 121 square feet. But one was a porch or a balcony. But there's another one that was talking about being close to Harrods, and tonight's talks about being close to Harrods, and it's just really wacky. But these houses, there are millions of empty houses in Japanese countryside. These houses, called IKEA, are often sold for low prices, attracting buzz from foreign buyers. Buyers should be aware of potential renovation costs and uncertain resale values, however. And they have why are there millions of them? that the country's struggling to fill, with the population of Japan shrinking and Japanese buyers vastly preferring new overused homes. Older homes are often abandoned when owners die or younger generations refuse to take them over and update them. That happens here in the States too. Let's go over to the
Yeah, but
source.
they can usually sell them in the US to another buyer.
Yeah, to somebody that'll buy it, at least for the land. Um, we've seen that happen quite often. Well, this article's over at businessinsider.com. Kylie Kirshner is the author of this. I think one of the issues is that it would have doors like this, these, paper thin doors. And I don't know. It says buying an IKEA can provide a great opportunity, but buyers should be aware of possible downsides. Renovation costs for sure. IKEA is a Japanese term for empty house. You can buy it for around $25,000 or auction, for a sale or auction, and sometimes as little as $500. These houses can be found listed in IKEA banks, pages operated by local governments as part of a program launched by Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transportation, and Tourism, or MLIT, because you have to be lit to want to buy one of these. The Japanese government estimated in 2018 that there were nearly 8.5 million abandoned homes in the country.
That's just astounding to me. I did try to look at the website just to get a sense of what was there, but I didn't have much luck because you have to search by location and depending on what happens to be available or even if they have a site. So,
Right. The couple said that they bought their house for around $30,000 at auction in 2019 and have spent $150,000 on extensive renovations, documenting the process of turning it into their dream home on their YouTube channel. This is not by far. I have not. They're okay to make ends meet. People are buying a property, but then they're documenting the entire process on YouTube and making their money for the purchase via their YouTube channel. Fascinating. I don't know. I just, it boggles my mind that people have the ability and tenacity to do that. There was one that I just saw where all they did was buy some land and then started the process of doing all of this on an island where you could only get to it via boat. Yeah,
that's handy to get your construction supplies and everything.
Yep. So they had to clean out the entire property. This is what it looked like. And if you're listening to this via the podcast, let's just say that it doesn't look like there's any cabinetry, and everything is scattered liberally all throughout the counters and the central table. Looks
That's not
like
doing it justice.
Yeah.
Think of a covered table and then multiply it by 10.
Yeah. It looks like a workbench more than a kitchen table. But at least they don't have the refrigerator directly opposite the island where you smash your hip into the island because you're backing up from the refrigerator.
I think you're a little traumatized over that.
It might be some of my baggage. I don't know. Land without anything on it has a higher value than land with a pre-owned house on it, says Richard Koo, the chief economist at Japan's Nomura Research Institute, previously told Insider that in Japan, once a home is more than 10 to 15 years old, its value is worse than nothing because of the cost of demolishing it. This is why, and it's probably because of the maintenance. You have to keep on managing this stuff. It's not cheap to keep on replacing stuff as it's failing. And it's because of the quality of the initial timber framing and the environment. You have to keep on working on it. Just like a regular home here in the States. You have to keep on fixing stuff because it degrades. It's still living, wood framed houses are still living. And they degrade over time, and then insects and other stuff. It's not hermetically sealed, so you can get moisture inside the house breathes, and I swear I would rather have a 3D printed house. Do that in the Japan countryside. And these houses will be holding their value a whole lot longer because you don't have to sit there and babysit them so much compared to
Right, but somebody has to go in and demolish all the existing houses first. There's probably not a lot of open land in Japan.
right. Yeah, but you demolish this and you put up. Maybe Japan can do what the U.S. is doing, subsidize a business, with $52 billion worth of subsidies, and then provide incentives as per TSMC. The low cost of these houses create buzz, but Nakamura said that is not necessarily a step towards financial freedom or long-term stability, and that cultural differences can be difficult to adapt to. Yeah. I don't know exactly what all of the cultural differences are going to be revolving around your house on a countryside somewhere. But I guess that statement.
I think it's more when you go grocery shopping or things along those lines.
I can't pull a Karen and just charge in there and demand all kinds of stuff.
You're exactly the kind of person that article is geared toward.
Am I part of the problem?
Well.
Let's talk about these pets here. This is in the Mobile channel. Pet royalty. Meet 8 millionaire pets worth more than you can imagine. I'm going to go straight on over to this. This is over at thestockdork.com. Jenna Gleespan is the author of this. I love this cat. I want this cat. But our cats.
It has a very disapproving look.
Man, it looks so happy. I love it. It's like a naked mole rat, a giant naked mole rat. It has more cash on it than I have on me. So Doug the Pug, $1.5 million net worth, has a massive Instagram following of 3.5 million people. That just hurts.
I think that's great.
that just hurts. Earning him an estimated $22,400 per post. Pontiac.
Which he's not even coming up with.
Pontiac was a guide dog owned by or adopted by Betty White. This is not Pontiac the guide dog. This is Betty White, folks. Okay, just want to make that clear. Anyway, Pontiac has $5 million. I guess Choupay, is their name. $13 million.
Also not in the picture.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. The next article, or the next pet is Jif Palm, $25 million, wearing a Superman outfit. Looks like a Superman outfit or something. I don't know, superhero. It might be their own. You know what? It might be their own
like
outfit.
They probably have their own clothing line, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I am Jif Palm, a line of custom emojis, a calendar, several acting credits. Oh, wow. Jif Palm was known for holding 2 Guinness World Records for the fastest 10-meter run on hind legs and the fastest 5-meter run on front paws.
That's pretty impressive.
Talents he used to steal the hearts of viewers in Katy Perry's Dark Horse music video. 30 million followers on social media. So almost $1 million per follower. Lauren, Layla, Luke, Sadie, and Sunny, $30 million. That shouldn't all be bundled together, right? There's 5 of them, so it's actually only 6. So that puts them way back.
They're in the earlier territory, like with Pontiac.
Like Pontiac, yeah. But it's a tie for third. Anyway, 5 dogs owned by Oprah. Olivia Benson has $97 million, and apparently that's not from Taylor Swift. They apparently have their own social media following and acting in music videos and commercials. So That's Olivia
That's
Benson.
interesting because I would have thought it was like an inheritance or something.
Yeah, $97 million. Then there's Nala, who is staring into your soul right now. $100 million. Holds the Guinness World Record for the most followers on Instagram for a cat at 4.3 million. Then Gunther the Sixth has $500 million, who was owned by a German countess and was given a massive amount of money managed by the Gunther Corporation that oversees his well-being. Good God, $500 million.
All pets should be so lucky.
Yeah. All right, folks, let's go on to the next article. I got out of bed this morning, and
these pets make more than most people make in their lifetime.
Yeah. Yep. So this next article is over in ohmTown Daily. What is the LK99 superconductor? Everyone is talking about how it could change the world, but experts say we're still a long way off. Well, this is an extraordinary claim, so there needs to be extraordinary evidence, and, well, it hasn't quite been made available yet, but the announcement was recently made public. Sindhu Sundar and Jenny McGrath are the authors of the article over at businessinsider.com. And it says experts are skeptical, but if such material exists, it should boost energy production and storage. It could also improve chips used in cars, consumer electronics like cell phones. It's apparently a superconductor at room temperature that scientists in South Korea say that they've devised, which has been dominating headlines and social media posts in the past week or so. The LK99 compound is comprised of lead, oxygen, phosphorus. Scientists describe in 2 preprint papers that have yet to be peer-reviewed. They discuss how they doped the material with copper, which they speculate may have distorted the chain of lead atoms, combining it's starting to hurt my head, I guess. I don't know. Creating channels along which superconductivity occurs.
Okay, that was a pretty awkward sentence, and not because of how you said it.
I mean, it's one really long sentence. They discuss how they doped the material with copper, which they speculate may have distorted the chain of lead atoms, creating channels along which the superconductivity occurs, per science.
Okay. And what the listeners are missing, there are 5 commas in that sentence. Like, it is severely broken up.
Yeah, I'm so glad that the AI has my back on this. Anyway, so the experts are skeptical. I want to see the paper. I want to see people do some peer review and replicate the experiment. I mean, superconductivity at room temperature has been touted for decades. And right now you have to get stuff down to, it says here negative 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Some compounds become superconductive at higher temperatures and can be cooled with liquid nitrogen at around negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit. It would change the nature of nuclear medicine, for sure. LK99 isn't the first claim of its kind. There have been similar attempts in the past that haven't quite panned out. There's all kinds of conspiracy around that kind of stuff too. The person suddenly disappeared. Yeah, it's because they stopped making wild claims that can't be justified. But you know what? I'm sure if aliens landed on the White House lawn and said that they were going to be friends, somebody would take a pot shot at them. Superconductors expel magnetic fields and are diamagnetic, a phenomenon known as the Mesner effect. If you put a magnet near it, they oppose the magnet, and so magnets actually float on top of them. They actually
get
tidal. Is this like
what's used in maglev? Or
that's
something else?
And it's something else, yeah, because it's electromagnetic fields that are repelling each other. And it actually hovers on a magnetic field. You can actually see and it depends on the train, but currently MRI machines, quantum computers, and magnetic levitation trains all use superconductivity. Cooling an MRI magnet requires around 2,000 liters of liquid helium, which is both expensive and in short supply. These levitation trains, actually, it's not like one contiguous line of superconductivity as far as I know. And yeah, it really depends on how it's all constructed and just how much superconductivity is actually in play at the time. If you had superconducting wires instead of the regular wires that they're using, it would be the equivalent of having 5% to 10% more power stations, and you wouldn't be putting any more carbon into the atmosphere. The opportunities that would be for this would be tremendous. But we're not there yet, said Khan. So I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on this and see if anybody actually make something out of this, and it's not just a claim, because you can have something really small that has the potential, but it's so expensive, the physics just don't allow it to scale either, so its use would be extremely limited. But yeah, this is what would be typical. So down here is a superconducting wafer, and it's been lowered in temperature to the point where this object sits in the field and just hovers, and you can actually pivot it, spin it, do all kinds of stuff. There's a thing called tidal locking where the object will stay right there, and if you were to put a whole bunch of these like a maglev train and pushed it, it would slide around on a track, hovering underneath the track or above it, depending on how it's situated. And it's pretty neat, but really expensive. If anything breaks down, then it just stops, and has the potential of being dangerous. But yeah. Let's keep on going. We've got a whole bunch more news still ahead of us. 3 more articles. Keep going. This next article is Microsoft has been accused of negligent cybersecurity practices that enabled Chinese espionage against the U.S. government. After Microsoft admitted its Azure platform had been breached by Chinese hacking group Storm 0558, chairman and CEO of network security giant Tenable, Amit Yoran, took to Microsoft-owned social platform LinkedIn to air his grievances against Microsoft's security practices. And frankly...
Okay, you know what I thought about? Festivus.
What?
Because the airing of the grievances.
Oh. Break out your Festivus poll. Here, I want to see something real quick. Sorry, 1 second. Entertain the troops. Sorry for the dead air, folks. I was just trying to pull something up. Okay, citing a letter sent by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, the Department of Justice, and the Federal Trade Commission recently, Yoran calls for Microsoft to answer for the lack of transparency and a repeated pattern of negligent cybersecurity practices, which has enabled Chinese espionage against the United States government. Okay. The problem has been that instead of the government focusing on government-centric employees, staff, skill development, internal development, couching everything in long-term development of personnel within the enterprise, they're going outside of the enterprise because, quote-unquote, business is more agile than government. But when the only impetus for a business to provide a deeply secure facility is the amount of money you give and the document specifications for the contract says X, Y, and Z, the business is only going to give you X, Y, and Z for X amount of money. But business to business wise, if I go to a business and they freaking fail me in their delivery or something happens, they fall over backwards trying to save me as a customer. Whereas government is literally sitting there going, well, they're our provider for the next 5 years. I guess we could send them a strongly worded screed and maybe they'll get their act together. No, that's not what they do. They say, well, the terms of the contract are that I provide X service for this amount of money and time, this number of employees that fulfill the obligations of said contract. You enumerated this, we're following FAR. So you tell me, what would be better? I can tell you that regulatory capture, that basically business has captured so much of the pocketbook of politicians that they want to downsize government so that it's more in the government is more invested in business. They have to invest in business, otherwise they can't get day-to-day done, right? And because of that, we don't have the backup, the failover, should something happen in the private sector, to fall back on. So if the file system goes down because SharePoint has shit the bed, nobody has access to anything. But what should really be happening is government should be spinning up more people that are technically savvy, understand the industry, can bring the equipment in-house, police it as if it is their career and life, and it is, because they are employees of, they're either civil servants, fully employed by the government, or they are enlisted in active duty, and that is their job to make sure that the government and the country is secure end to end. But that's not how it is. It isn't government that's doing all of the work in this business enterprise. It's Microsoft employees that have won a contract, and every 5 years, or however long the terms of the contract are at that given time. Hell, nowadays it could be 2 years because you never know when the government's going to shut down. Anyway, this article's over at PC Gamer. Katie Wickens is the author. The article is from, the article's deck statement says, Tenable CEO says bank details are still exposed due to Microsoft Azure platform security issue with no fix expected until September. This is one of the problems that I talk about with people. I state that a 0-day flaw is typically in play without being known for upwards of 18 months. And then you're going to be looking at another 6 months worth of bandying about trying to find the problem, then mitigate whatever is going on, and then provide a patch. And it really depends on how complex the issue is. And if they're a persistent threat, then they're in the network and you don't know where the hell they are. Good luck doing long-term forensic analysis of the network traffic. Yeah. This is why when your computer is compromised, burn it to the ground. Just wipe it out entirely.
Not literally burn it.
Not literally. The digital version of burning it. Raise it. Just delete, wipe everything. And in some cases, peripherals, because they could stow something onto some backup storage. And then when you grab that file and launch it, they're back in your system. Get a robust firewall. Put a hardware firewall on your network, put a software firewall on each of your computers, better than the software firewall that's in Windows itself. I use Glasswire, which is actually, it works hand in hand with the built-in Windows firewall. So that's kind of like Windows Firewall on top of Windows Firewall, patting each other on the back, saying how good they're doing. But I like Glasswire because it gives me better analytics and alerts. Anyway, citing a letter from U.S. Senator Ron Wyden and the CISA, they said, basically, all hell's breaking loose. You better get your act together. But they're bound by a contract. 120 days later, when Yoren's post goes up, those bank details remain exposed, and while Microsoft promises to fix the issues by September, Yoren makes clear his feelings that a 4th-month wait for a fix is grossly irresponsible, if not blatantly negligent, and I agree. The shit would be fixed if it wasn't a government-centric issue. I'm shocked that they haven't dedicated a bigger team to figure out what the problem is, track it all down, and solve it. So, what do you think? It says that's quite the accusation, and the Google Project Zero number seemed to add insult to injury. As Yoren notes, Microsoft products have accounted for an aggregate 42.5 of all 0 days discovered since 2014.
Well, that's kind of shocking, but it's not, because Microsoft is used on so many computers. I think the delay, though, in making a fix is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree. There was something else that I wanted to say, but I just think that people don't really understand government contracting. They don't really have an interest in it. They think it's somebody else's problem. But this is a problem inherent to government, because government has a constrained competitive platform. It isn't a true open market for competition, and government can't just go anywhere to get services. So there's bigger issues here, and I wish the general public would be interested in solving this. Anyway, let's keep on going.
Don't you think the bigger problem here is just lack of competition? I mean, yes. Microsoft basically has a monopoly, so.
Yeah. It's either Microsoft or it's Google. One of the two are providing, or Amazon. And really all of them are riffing off of Amazon anyway. That's what AWS is, the back end for all of these. So it's just lease. So essentially everybody out there, your entire government is provided infrastructure by 3 main companies. And I'm not talking about the hardware like Aruba Networks or the networking side of things, hardware wise. You know, Cisco is still in there. Various other networks are in there, but fundamentally it's Microsoft, Google, and AWS that provides all of the back end stuff. Anyway, let's get out of here. We've got 2 more articles. This next article is in Distillerist. Plans for first tribally owned distillery in Arizona. I am shocked that this is the first tribally owned distillery in Arizona. The Tonto Apache tribe is the second native Indian group to join the Tribal Beverage Network, or TBN, which, by the way, I was actually going to title this section Tribal Beverage, right? And what did I did. I called it Tribal Beverages before I even read this snippet. It's a first of its kind partnership designed to develop heritage branded distilleries, brands, and tasting rooms to serve patrons of tribal casinos and entertainment venues. The new distillery will produce and serve Heritage's portfolio of spirits, as well as exclusive Tonto Apache created brands. Justin and Jennifer Stifel co-founded the Heritage Distilling Company in 2011. So we have spent considerable time with the team from Heritage, and we have toured their facilities. So cool. Thespiritsbusiness.com put this article together. Melita Keeley is the author. Still, I'm really surprised that this is the first, right?
I am too. I mean, there must be some others in other states perhaps, but I'm still surprised. Like, I would have thought there would be a lot of these.
Yeah, wherever there can be tribal land, I would suspect that there's somebody chomping at the bit to spin up a distillery. If they do it right, they make a lot of money. They attract a lot of attention. Um, if they were to, attract a social media platform audience, then they would, definitely draw more people to them. Um, but I guess it's about location, location, location. They may not be easily reached by every demographic because, for instance, there's a group in Texas that spun up their distillery from Kickstarter, Crowded Barrel, I think it's called. They have a whole audience. I watch them on YouTube regularly, just to see what their distillery is up to, and they've expanded and they've got a huge following. You would think that they would probably do that. So I wonder if this is just something going on and we just don't know that it. But literally, they say it's the first in Arizona, the first.
And they only have 2 distilleries total.
It's really weird. You would think that. I wonder if it's just that this article is just speaking of them. Plans for first tribally owned distillery in Arizona.
Oh, I see what you mean. I took that as the first one in the state, but maybe it's the first one by heritage.
Right.
But there's a note in here about legislation, and so maybe until recently this wasn't allowed.
Gotcha.
Although I
it
don't
says
know
it right
the
there.
backstory on that. Right.
For 184 years, tribes were shut out of the spirits industry by antiquated Andrew Jackson era legislation. Now they will be primed to join the industry as it enters a growth cycle. So interesting. More than 524 tribal casinos in operation, along with their hotels, golf courses, arenas, resorts, and retail spaces that sell adult beverages, distilling, and spirits production, is the next logical extension of their development. Yeah. Pretty neat. Okay, so let's catch up with the chat and the links so that they're part of the VOD. Sorry, folks. I know some people watch this later. I do put the show notes up. Yesterday's episode has the show notes now. And there you are. Y'all are caught up now. Let's go on to the final article for today and we'll get out of here and let y'all enjoy your Friday. This next article and the last one for today is in ohmTown Daily. YouTuber and entrepreneur Simon Squibb spent $32,000 winning an auction for a stairwell in London. What's going on in London?
I don't know, but the real estate market must be absolutely crazy.
So I had to look at this to figure out what the context of it was because I said, there has to be something more to this. But no, it's a stairwell. Ryan Hogg over at businessinsider.com put this article together, and here is Simon Squibb, who paid $32,000 at auction for the stairwell in London. They're a YouTuber, but they also are a CEO of a company who said that this kind of exemplifies the spirit of their business. He plans to create an office space to help people with their new business spinning up, getting up and running. They help out entrepreneurs. So it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, is this really a business? But okay.
How is that going to work as a business?
You have to watch the video. So in a city like London, where an apartment smaller than a parking space has no bathroom or kitchen and was priced at $220,000, I don't know what's going on in this world. A property with a reserve price of just $25,000 or 20,000 pounds might sound like an absolute bargain, but it's actually a stairwell attached to the outside of a London building. And I've watched the video. The new owner runs Help Bank, and to be edgy, it has BNK, missing the A, which helps people start their own businesses with free advice. Squibb felt that the steps were like how he views his venture. So, you climb the steps, you do the steps, you succeed, that kind of thing. people always talk about elevator pitch, but an elevator is expensive. It's much more fun to do it step by step. It's the first time in London there's steps for sale, and it jumped out at me as a good analogy for our first office. Um,
Okay, so it's kind of catchy, but don't people need to use the stairwell?
that's what I thought too, but I couldn't figure out if this is just extraneous
Like
space,
decorative or something?
Yeah, like they get in from some other place. But this is nothing more than a glass lined building or extension bolted onto the side and corner of the building. So I don't think that it's actually necessarily functional. The video that they're showing on the screen right now is walking around. It literally is nothing more than a stairwell. So I don't know how they could possibly use it for anything office related, because what is it? OSHA? This is the UK though, so
For the equivalent.
the equivalent. Nobody would be able to walk up this if there was a desk anywhere, except those little niches on each floor, like back here.
I
But
was
this
thinking
is
about
actually
like fire safety would just have a
exactly.
field day with this.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's actually entirely encapsulated onto itself. There's no way that you can get into it from the building itself. It's all on the outside. And it has like what looks like a fire door on the outside. What it looks like more to me than anything else is a garden, like an outdoor. What is the outdoor garden?
Like a greenhouse?
A greenhouse. Thank you. Yeah. So to me, it looks like a greenhouse, and I'm just shocked that somebody would put it up for sale as something that could be purchased.
Well, right. I'm more surprised that it's able to be sold, I guess, than that somebody bought it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just like the balcony. How could the balcony be for sale? How can a stairwell be for sale as something that's anything other than a stairwell?
Well, and that's the thing that doesn't make sense, because most things that are part of a building are probably part of the contract for the sale of the building. So
Right.
I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating. I don't know about functional windows. I don't know about fire safety. And I mean, it's all metal. It's not going to catch on fire, but the stuff inside it can, I suppose.
Well, it probably doesn't have air conditioning and heating in there.
Yeah. You break a window, I suppose. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. That's our 12. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning of ohmTown's Main Street, the welcome sign. We'll just mash that welcome button. That's the ohmTown button. Just mash it, and every time you pretty much get a new set of articles, wherein you can either be happily surprised by the news, or it's a little bit more surreal, or what it appears to be today, which is kind of
Well, there has been an update already about the streamer in New York, but it's a little farther down, I think.
Oh, really? Let's see.
Yeah, here we go. Influencer to be charged.
Wow. After chaos erupts in New York City's Union Square. I don't know if...
that moved pretty fast.
Yeah, there's a first. People aren't really happy with influencers. I actually titled this, Influencer Takes on New Meaning. Yeah, that was the title for
that
today's...
was prescient.
For that section. Cool. All right. Well, at any rate, folks, there's all kinds of stuff that's still to be talked about. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern to review ohmTown Daily. It's in the title how often we do it. Daily. All right.
That's right.
I'm out of here. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown. Well, wait. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the AI that's going to say goodnight.
Goodbye, ohmTown citizens. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
True story. Bye. wave